The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
DJ Baller, you killed this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to College Football Coast to Coast. It's our last episode of the regular season. It's been a long season so far. Actually, side note, no, I think it's gone by faster than expected. I feel like we got to week 10 super fast. That was kind of my thing. We got to week 10 and I was like, holy crap. So we're moving along pretty good. But no, here we are, the last week of the regular season. Of course, it's rivalry week. Don't say that 5 times fast. You could have a rough day there. No, a lot of great games, in-state rivals going on this weekend. You got the Apple Cup out west. Of course, we had the Egg Bowl on Thursday night. The Land Grant Trophy on Saturday night or on Friday night. Sorry. You got a lot of great games going on. So we'll hop right into what we think is kind of the start of the show and kind of where we pick up from last week. And of course, that leads us to our AP Top 25 risers and fallers. Interesting thought here. Everything pretty much up through 15 is pretty much chalk with the college football playoff and the AP top 25 is pretty much the same for the most part. So not too much difference there. So you could look at both polls together in some sense through the top 15, but once you get down past that, there's a little bit of a change. Tyler, I'll let you lead it off per usual here with your faller of the week, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tennessee. I mean, this was a team that I think that if you really ask any Tennessee fan, this was not the season that they had in mind. They set at 7-4. And in the two games that we really watched, it was them getting railroaded by Missouri. And then the next week they come back to Neyland thinking that, they got Georgia coming in. Georgia's been pretty much killing everybody the way that they've been going. But yeah, not a great 2 weeks for Tennessee. They set in 7-4. They have Vanderbilt this week. You're expected to beat them. If not, I mean, man, this is gonna Knoxville might as well just burn down if they lose to Vanderbilt. But dropping to 4 spots, number 25. I don't even think that they deserve that number 25 ranking in the college football playoff poll. They're number 21. I think that's a little bit too high for my liking. You got Tulane with 11-1 now with their win on Friday. They'll be going on to the American. I have stuff to say about that, but Tennessee being the faller is not the season that I had expected for them. Definitely fallen short of their expectations.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that time's up in Knoxville. I think you had a good stretch there with some good players, that you had, but I think Josh Heupel needs to go back to the drawing board with some of his coaching staff, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They've struggled to stop or just to get going. They've struggled to get on the field and stay on the field. Is their biggest problem. Turnovers have been a problem for them so far this season as well for most of the year. Defense hasn't played terrible, but I mean, you got to score the ball in order to stay in football games, at least in the SEC. So, I can see them at 25 there. Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't think that they're a team that really needs to be in the top 25 at 7-4. They're currently the only 4-loss team that is in the top 25. I think there are 3 lost teams outside of there that are a lot better than they are. notably, you know, Utah, uh, NC State, same way with those two teams. I think those are two teams that are better off than Tennessee at this point in the year. For me, for my faller, Um, I'm gonna hop over to the Sun Belt Conference. I'm disappointed in James Madison. JMU, undefeated going into last week. I'm disappointed with how they played, especially at home against App State. App State is the wrecker of all wrecker. Um, as I can't remember who said it tonight, but it might have been Gary Danielson. I don't know who has the coverage out west for that Oregon and Oregon State game, but they mentioned something about Oregon being home wreckers. No, I honestly think that App State is the home wrecker of all home wreckers when it comes
Mhm.
to uh, teams that are playing really well or playing a big team. They come in. It's just they're a tough team to play, and I just feel that going into overtime there, the way the game had shifted, it just felt like there was no way James Madison could come back in that stretch there. It just felt like momentum was on their side. James Madison goes and scores a touchdown to tie it up before the end of the game with less than a minute, and they get the field goal in overtime, but here comes App State and they score a touchdown to win it. Uh, the most yardage that JMU's given up all year is right there. I mean, an App State quarterback that almost throws for 300 yards, throws the ball 46 times. Come on, like, you gotta do something. That's insane to me. So, yeah, JMU's my faller, 10-1, still a fantastic season. You gotta keep your head up high. App State's a really good football team, better than that record of 7-4. Um, for me, I think that's the 4-loss team that belongs in that top 25 spot if that's who we're gonna put, with Tennessee at 25. So that's my opinion, but I think still a great season for JMU.
Yeah, and then we go on to the fallers. I'm going to go to the Pac-12. I'm going to pick the
Going to
Pac-12.
the risers. You can give me another faller.
Oh, I mean, for my risers, my bad. We're doing this pretty late, but I'm going to go to Arizona. I mean, Arizona is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. They had their three losses were early. Their first loss was against Mississippi State. Mississippi State is 5-7 right now. We'll see if they're one of those 5-7 teams that get to bowl eligibility. But if you really look at the other two losses, they lost in overtime to USC, and then they lost to top five now, Washington. So after that, Arizona has been on absolute heater. We'll see what they do today against Arizona State. Arizona State is 3-8. They're not a very good football team. I expect Arizona to go in there and really handle their business. So they can get to 9 wins, possibly 10 wins with a good bowl game. So this Arizona team moved up 3 spots, sitting at number 16. I think that they're one of the best 3-loss teams in the country.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna head over to the Conference USA, or as we like to call it, the CUSA. Over at the CUSA, I honestly think the team that has ran it all season long, and they moved up 3 spots from last week from 25 to 22. Give me the Liberty Flames. That team is on fire, undefeated season so far
Really?
this year. They are literally on fire. But no, this team's played well all year. Both sides of the football, they can score the football. Holy smokes, can they score? It is just incredible to see how many points they can put up on the board. Really nothing close late in the season after beating UMass at home this past week. You win 49-25. Now you got a pretty much a cupcake game on the road at UTEP. UTEP is completely flipped from the previous season. Team is now 3-8 on the season. Oh my god. Um, it's a complete turnaround. Your Conference USA championship is already decided there with New Mexico State and Liberty. Um, Liberty is a 16.5 on the road uh, today, so I give them the nod all day long uh, for them to go out and win a football game and have an undefeated season and win the Conference USA and have a really good bowl. Like I am happy for them. So uh, great for Liberty, and they are my riser for the week. Of course, we will react to the college football playoff top 25. A lot has not happened, folks. Just yeah, I don't understand. It's just an excuse for a bunch of people to get together and have a cup of coffee. Hey, let's all chill out. Like, why don't they put us on the committee? I said I want to get paid to sit there because I know they ain't volunteering. I can tell you that much. Um, no, we need to talk about that in the off season too, and probably talk about a bit of it on Sports Scramble too, because I have personal opinions on the college football playoff committee. I know that the college football playoff thing's changing, but I have personal feelings on the playoff committee and how that's done because I don't know. I don't think representatives from schools throughout the country should be sitting on the committee for college. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, people have friends in the business, and it's who knows what's happening there as far as teams that are in the top 25 because it matters when you're in the top 25 for the college football playoff. Never, it doesn't matter if you're 1 or 25. I mean, it really matters to a lot of these schools at the end of the season and bowl eligibility, what kind of bowl they're going to get. I mean, it means a lot to these players and these coaches. Um, Other than that, done with my rant. Tyler, biggest surprise to you so far with the latest poll from Tuesday night in this top 25?
I mean, not really many surprises. I agree. Washington finally getting the boost. I think that a lot of people thought, oh, was it the Jordan Travis injury? No, it was just that Washington has a better resume than Florida State. If you really look at Florida State's resume, their resume it's still strong. Don't get me wrong. They still have right now 2 top 25 wins. Clemson right now is back in the top 25. They're number 24. LSU, they're ranked number 14. So if you're Florida State, root for Clemson and root for LSU to win this week because that really solidifies at least 2 top 25 wins. Now you could get the opportunity because you have Louisville facing off against Florida State. We'll see if the Jordan Travis injury affects them, their college football playoff hopes. I'm telling you right now, folks, if they go 13-0 and win the ACC, they are an absolute lock. And if they are not in, I agree with you, an absolutely riding this playoff committee. But really, outside of that, the new faces coming into the poll, you have Liberty. It's about damn time. 11-0, they definitely deserve it. I would have thought that James Madison would have been this poll, but like you mentioned, App State, they're the wreckers of college football. They've been the wreckers since they beat down Michigan in the big house. But NC State, they're in the poll now. They're number 22. NC State's really been flying on the radar. They've been one of the hottest teams in the country. But really, I'm on the New Year's Six bowl game watches. Alabama, we'll see if they'll stay in the mix. They have a chance to make it to the college football playoff. They beat Georgia next week. But Penn State, they got a huge victory against Michigan State on Friday. I think that they're pretty much a lock. They're probably going to be in a New Year's Six. Missouri, they got a big victory against Arkansas on Friday. I think that they're also a lock. And then Louisville, they still have an opportunity, even if they lose to the ACC championship, they are on the bubble, I would say. And then Ole Miss, I think they're on the bubble too. Oklahoma as well. But Tulane, if they can win this upcoming week in the American Athletic Conference Championship, they're solidifying in. Maybe you see another Penn State versus Tulane game in the Cotton Bowl.
We could, and I had some thoughts on, bowl games. Of course, we'll get to the bowl games and all the crazy wild names, from all the bowls and everything. Still pissed off that there's no more Outback Bowl and it's the ReliaQuest Bowl. That company sucks. You can suck it. No, I like where we're at currently. Dude, Arizona. I can't get over the Arizona team. It's crazy to me. Like 8-3, and look, if the ball just flips or turns over one way or another, they're 9-2 or 10-1.
Yeah, they had 2 overtime losses. The loss of Washington was in single digits.
Dude.
I mean, this could be a team we talking about being undefeated.
God, I mean, they could be in the playoff. I mean, that's the crazy crazy thing about it. Is the fact that they could really be sitting at 5 or 6, and we could have 6 undefeated teams and sit there going, "Holy crap!" No, I agree with you. Like teams that are a lock, I think, for New Year's Six, like teams like Oregon, I think are a lock. I have personal opinions on that game and how the Pac-12 championship's kind of going to weigh the options of which Pac-12 team's going to make it into the college football playoff. Just for me, I don't know. I just don't see a one-loss team making the college football playoff this year. I really. The way things are, I mean, Georgia's bound to go undefeated. So is So is Florida State. Like those are the two teams that I feel like have the best odds to go undefeated. Of course, Ohio State and Michigan are going to duke it out. Somebody has to lose, and whoever does lose that game is going to be in a New Year's Six. So it's one of those cases because they won't put both teams in. I just don't think they're going to put Michigan and Ohio State in the college football playoff together because they've gotten a lot of pushback from doing that in the past. And times are going to change big time, especially in the Big Ten. So, no, I Texas is a lock for a New Year's Six. Alabama's a lock for a New Year's Six. I don't think Alabama is going to be in the college football playoff. I don't see that happening. Um, I just don't see it. But craziest thing for me is Missouri. Missouri, crazy turnaround this year. Wild. I am shocked. They are the surprise of the year. Their their head coach is the coach of the year by far, and it's not even close. Mike Norvell is not the coach of the year. No, that team is incredible. So I'm really proud of how they've handled their business against some big teams from previous seasons that have been really good. So Missouri is a lock for a New Year's Six to me. Louisville for me is not. And the reason is because when they do play in the ACC championship, I think them losing that game knocks them down. I think they'll be outside of the New Year's Six. I think they probably could be a team playing in Tampa, in the ReliaQuest or, something like that. It just doesn't seem like they're going to be a New Year's Six team. And they've been so shaky, like 10-1, and they've just been all over the place. It's just weird. So yeah, it just a weird team for me. Oregon State losing there, knocks them down 5 spots. They're pretty much out of everything. At this point, they're going to get a decent bowl game, but that's about it. Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Liberty could jump Tulane potentially in the top 25 and be the team that gets the nod. Could that happen?
Probably not.
I mean, unless Tulane loses a game.
Yeah, unless Tulane loses. I mean, that's really the only way that Liberty makes it into the New Year's Six.
Right, and that's pretty sad, them being undefeated, and they're likely to go
maybe next year when we have a 12 team.
13-0. Yeah, I mean, they're likely to go 13-0, and that's sad, though. It's really bad. But yeah, so let's get away from our reaction. Let's get to our games of the week here. First game of the week here in the ACC, North Carolina and NC State. Nice little battle here down the road. Go take the bus. Goodbye. North Carolina is the Tar Heels, folks, not State. The Tar Heels are the 2.5 point favorite on the road at NC State. Interesting, very interesting to see a team not ranked on the road be the favorite against the 23rd ranked team in the country, the old NC State Wolfpack. Typo there too, by the way. NC State's 22, not 23, so close enough. But still, I think NC State is a different football team at home. For me, Drake May has not had any, and I tell you, any help on the defensive side of the ball or on the offensive line. It has basically been a 11-on-2 or 11-on-3 type game for North Carolina this year. I think that's why it's been all over the place. I expect NC State to win this game. Give me NC State to win and cover at home. So I think they can probably win by 3 at home, like 23-20 game here. I don't see a ton of points. NC State's got a decent defense.
Yeah, I think that this is going to definitely be one of the better games that's really flying on the radar. North Carolina, they start off their season hot, and back-to-back losses to Virginia and Georgia Tech really knocked them out of the ACC title race. So I think that it was pretty much a guarantee that it was going to be, either Florida State or versus Clemson or Florida State versus North Carolina going into the preseason. But North Carolina is still an opportunity to finish the season really strong here with a win on the road against NC State. But, man, NC State, like Arizona, they've been on an absolute hot streak, and especially if you're in the betting world. If you've been riding with the Wolfpack, I mean, you're probably rich at this point, the way that they've been rolling. But I think, yeah, you brought up the key in this one. NC State's got a defense that can really step up to the plate. North Carolina, their defense, I was really impressed with them. I thought that Gene Chizik, in the offseason really made some adjustments, but it's been the same old North Carolina defense this past couple of weeks. So I think that with that alone, maybe Vegas is trying to tell us something with North Carolina being a 2.5 point favorite, but you just got to roll with the hot hand at this rate. They're playing at home. It's a night game. Give me NC State in this rivalry game. It's definitely going to be close. I think that there is going to be more points than what you said. I think that the winner gets at least into the 30s. I think that Drake May and this offense will be able to score, but NC State, I just got to ride with them. So I'll go 31-28. I'll give it to the Wolfpack.
Yeah, so 3-point game each way there for us. Close one, I think, down to the end. It's going to be a great game there in North Carolina. Headed over to the Big 12 here, Big 12 game of the week. The Iowa State Cyclones are headed over there to Manhattan, Kansas to face off against the 19th ranked KSU Wildcats, who are the 10-point favorite at home. Sneaky game, dude. I think this game is an absolute trap, even though K-State's playing at home. K-State's had the wildest up and down roller coaster stretch in the second half of the season. Talk about absolute misery playing Missouri. Get it, Missouri. You lose the game because the kid kicks one from freaking the next zip code and makes it. So
He did it again.
he did it again, and it's like, I don't know. Like, it's just the kid's good. All I can do is clap. I mean, no, Iowa State 6-5. They're bowl bound, but interesting fact is it's only 10 points. I mean, 10 points in college football it can go anywhere. One turnover here, one turnover there can really swing the balance of this game. I think for me, the large part of the problem is that Iowa State's defense is not what it used to be. I don't. They're not the team that gets up there and let's stop them at the sticks and get the ball back. And it's just not there anymore. They're more of an offensive driven team. They have to score to win the game, type thing. You kept it within 10 of Texas. I think that's your biggest upside there. Playing at home, you absolutely railroad BYU. Touchdown loss to Kansas playing at home. So I think they can stay in this game. K-State, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they're playing at home. I think Iowa State covers the 10, but I think K-State wins this game at home. Not a ton of points in this game. Let's go 28-21. I'll give it to K-State.
Yeah, Iowa State has really been a scrappy team in the Big 12. They stayed in the race, but now Texas with their brutal. Man, talk about Texas last time. I mean, 57-7 victory against Texas Tech. I was absolutely wrong about Texas Tech. They were the absolute disappointment of the Big 12. I expected more from them. Tyler Shaw, one of their supposed to be starting quarterback, is now in the transfer portal. So who would have thought that at the start of the season? But I'm sure that we'll talk about them. Yeah, pretty much both of these teams. I hate that there's really nothing to play for in this one, but it's true because if Oklahoma State wins today, then we'll have Oklahoma State and Texas in the Big 12 championship. So, yeah, this is definitely going to be a big one for who if you can improve your bowling. If Kansas State wins this one, they'll probably get a pretty good bowl. Probably go to the Cheez-It Bowl or something like that. But yeah, Iowa State and Matt Campbell. I just don't really think that some of them really. I was looking at the preseason poll that Iowa State was picked to finish dead last with the Cincinnatis and the Houstons of the world. But Iowa State, their defense really has played strong. But going into Manhattan, that is a very tough environment to go into. Kansas State, I think that their offense is just going to be too powerful for Iowa State to handle. I think that I agree with you. I think that this is going to be a much closer game than the line says at 10. But I think that Kansas State ends up winning this one in a defensive type game. I'll go 28-21. Give me the Wildcats to win this one at home. They don't lose too often in Manhattan.
No, same score for us here. Same point spread. So yeah, I just they're a pesky team, scrappy team on the ball. So yeah, look for a good game here in the Big 12. Headed over to the Big 10. It's
The
game. No, this game here, of course, it sways the balance of the college football playoff, and Well, here's the deal. Michigan's playing at home. Michigan doesn't lose at home unless it's App State. Thanks, App State. We appreciate that.
The
Um,
Ruckus.
I mean, uh, Ohio State's on the road. I think that's Michigan's saving grace, except for last year where they absolutely got stunned. Um, Fantastic there. That was insane. Um, Same story here. Ohio State has to stop the run. Blake Corum is going to get the ball a lot in this game. Um, they stop the run, force McCarthy to throw it. McCarthy's vulnerable in the pocket. We'll say that much. You get him, let him get out of the pocket. He's going to find Roman Wilson. I mean, it's going to happen. So I think that's the biggest task for Ohio State. You know, you have probably the best edge rusher in football right now, with Mr. Tuimolo. I just think that that's the one thing that's holding Ohio State together is the defensive line, and I just don't see it being enough. Like if Michigan's going to run the ball down your throat, then they're going to score the football. Both of these teams are both cheating throughout this season, so they're going to both cheat together, and let's see which cheater wins this week. I like the Wolverines in this one. I think Michigan wins it at home. I think they can win it by 2 touchdowns. That's how confident I am. Um, I will definitely take the points. 3.5 is too low for me in this one. They're giving too much credit to Ohio State. Forget about the rankings, people. Michigan, I think, will be the representative for the Big Ten, and they've got no easy task if they play Iowa in
Oh, give me a break.
the Big Ten championship. Oh my gosh, get your popcorn and get ready, folks, for that one. That one's going to be fun. Kind of like the game last night, Penn State and Michigan State. It'll be kind of like one of those. But yeah, I like Michigan in this one. And give me a little 35-21 action. I expect them to score the ball at will at home. I just don't see it being Ohio State's day there. And Ryan Day, this is the time when they figure out that Ryan Day can win the game on just about anybody except for Michigan. That's his kryptonite. So, yeah, give me Michigan.
I feel like every time that we talk about this game, we're like, okay, this is going to be a defensive battle, and then it's like 42
It's
to
not.
21 or
Right.
42 to 28 or something like that. So the more I think about, like, okay, these are the two best defenses in the Big Ten. Well, there's going to be somebody who just absolutely takes over the game. It's been Michigan this past 2 years. They've been able to run the football down Ohio State's throat. We'll see if they can do it a third time. If they do, then Ohio State fans, you have nothing really to say about Michigan because they've just pummeled you the last 2 years. I'm sure that Ohio State, has had that on the mind. I'll tell you what, Gus Johnson's going to have the time of his life calling this game.
Oh my God.
World famous Ohio State Buckeyes.
I'm putting the game on freaking mute. I'm muting this damn game for the next 5 hours. It's so bad.
All these players wearing the free hardball shirt for a 3-game suspension. The man ain't dead or something. Like he's still alive. It's not
like he's an axe murderer. Like what the Jesus Christ.
Serving like a year suspension. Like this is in Bounty Gate or something. But we'll see what the motivation is for Michigan with their, you could say interim head coach. It's not really interim. He's just there to be there for serving the suspension. Like, ooh, last week you barely beat Maryland, which I thought that I probably should have called that if we had the show last week. Maryland's always a scrappy team, but really going towards this one, yeah, this is a big game for head coach Ryan Day because, like you mentioned, he can win pretty much every game outside of this one the past couple of years. And then Ohio State got to the playoff last year, gave Georgia really the run for their money. Yeah, I mean, the Michigan thing the past couple of weeks is they haven't really able to rely on JJ McCarthy. In the Penn State game, they're like, screw you, dude. Like, we're just going to rely on Blake Corum against Penn State's rush defense. And then last week, JJ McCarthy threw a couple interceptions that kept that game close, and Maryland was able to come back. So these two quarterbacks, I don't really know about them. I mean, I'm sure that if you're a fan of Ohio State, you love Kyle McCord. If you're a fan of Michigan, J.J. McCarthy with his Heisman talk, that's pretty much out the door. But I think that this is all Michigan, though. I think that Michigan, especially at home, it would definitely shock me if Ohio State comes into here. But the way that the last two meetings have gone, there's really nothing that Michigan's going to change. Like, what did we do last year? Okay, let's do that again. They pretty much have the same guys. Their offensive line has really been solid. Their defense, I think, is just going to be too much. Just lock up Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ohio State ain't going to score nothing because that's pretty much all they have. If Trevion Henderson can't get going, but I think that Blake Corum, he's definitely been a man on the mission. I think Michigan wins this game 3.5. I think that they cover that. I'll say 31-17. I think that Michigan once again. This is a close game in the first half, but Michigan really controls this rivalry.
Yeah, moral of the story, folks, if you're afraid of picking a team in this one, just take the over because 46
I'm
and a
not
half
doing
points,
that anymore.
like
I'm not
46,
picking some
46 and a half
Iowa
points is
Nebraska game
too
like
low.
we saw on Friday with that snoozer. Nebraska should have won that game. The kicker
Talk
had a
about
chance
an
to
idiot.
win the field goal, and then Nebraska, their quarterback, they decide to go further at the midfield. He picks it off. Iowa goes down the field. Oh my God, that Big Ten championship game is going to be an absolute stinker. Whoever
That
wins this
guy
one is going to
gave
pummel.
that guy, Nebraska's quarterback, the bad Purdy, decided to absolutely throw the ball a dead duck to the other team
Is there
to
any
their
relation to
defensive
Brock
end.
Purdy?
I think so, probably, but I my thing is like, dude, he gift wrapped it to him. He said Merry Christmas and launched it right at him. And the dude just ran it back and said, I'm just gonna follow right here. And then Ferentz decides, you know what? Let's get the craziest idea of all time. Let's put the kicker in that hasn't kicked a freaking thing all season long, and let's put him in to make it. And the dude had a 33-yard field goal. He made it, but oh my God, if Mother Nature blew
If he
2
would have
mile
missed
an hour
it,
winds the other direction,
Ferentz is
it would have been
gone. If he would have
short.
missed
If he would have missed it, Ferentz would get fired. He would, because were they a lock for the Big
Yeah,
Ten championship?
they've been a lock. I mean, the Big
Okay.
Ten West has been an absolute stinker of a division.
I was gonna say,
Thank the
if you
Lord
missed
that
and they
next
didn't
year
make
we
it,
get UCLA, USC, Washington, and Oregon to make this conference absolutely not. There's only 2 or 3 teams that could really, like Ohio State and Michigan have been the top 2 teams. You got Penn State. If you want a lock for a team to get 11-2 every single season, it's Penn State.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You could bet your bottom line. You could bet everything. You could put your house up as collateral for the fact that Penn State is going to go 11-2 every freaking season.
And I wouldn't complain about that. I would
the
take
thing about it is,
11-2 every
do you know
season.
what the craziest part about of all of it is that they play the best games of their lives in the bowl season when they play a really good football team. I'm like, folks, could you not do that 4 weeks ago? And it's just, I don't know. Their offense last night was completely just revamped, and it looked amazing. I was
their two-headed monster running backs had over 100 yards. So if you do that, Penn State's going to win every game.
They were on track for over 600 yards in the game. I mean, they were just running through them. In Michigan State, they only had 4 wins on the season or whatever. But my thing is that, in the Big Ten, there really is no sleepers. I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel that they had a decent defense.
Look at them this year.
Right. I mean, Michigan State had a decent defense. They just had a young quarterback who's not developed yet. I mean, he's played the toughest defense in college football this year. So, I mean, the guy's kind of had the short end of the stick most of the year. He gets sacked 6 times last night. I mean, just took a beating. And they finally took him out of the game because it just got to the point where he was just getting nailed every time. And, of course, that's Michigan State's offensive line playing against one of the best defenses in the country. I mean, so I just think that there's going to be a lot of upsides to it being a 12-team playoff for teams like Penn State and for the group of 5 teams. That's where the plus comes in, for people like that. Bringing in the teams from out west to play Big Ten football is going to be very interesting. So I don't know what's going to happen. Does Bo Nix come back? Is he able to come back?
No, I think
is he playing his 8th year of college football already?
I mean, he was a freshman in 2019, I believe. So who knows?
I don't know. Penix is gone. We know that much. So, I mean, a lot of these teams are going to. Caleb Williams is gone, from USC.
USC is going to be an absolute dump. If they don't have
I
a defense,
mean,
they will not survive in the
I've
Big
got a
Ten.
hot take.
Go for it. Will
Freaking
they get last?
Illinois is going to beat USC in the rankings for next season. I mean, oh my God.
Brett Bielema, I mean,
Michigan State might beat them. How about that?
it really depending on it. I heard there's some rumors swirling of Oregon State's head coach Jonathan Smith being in the mix for Michigan State. I think that would be a home run high right there. Michigan State would be right back in the mix. I mean, it would take a couple of years, but they would have the right head coach.
Sure, recruiting wise, I think it's going to take a couple of years, but finding the right head coach for that job, Mel Tucker wasn't the guy for that job, anyways. To begin with, they didn't do jack crap with Mel Tucker, really. I mean, you had Peyton Thorne there, basically was nothing, for that team. So I don't know, just a lot of question marks surrounding that. Last thing on this game that we are talking about, of course, talking about Ohio State, Michigan. Last thing about this game, it's going to be freezing cold. It's going to be colder than a witch's tit out there. So I honestly think that whoever stays the warmest on the sidelines is going to win this game.
Well, probably Michigan. Yeah, Michigan will probably put some freezers instead of heaters over there.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen? They're going to freaking make their play calls wild, or who knows what's going to happen. I don't know. So some controversy is going to happen in this game. We all know it. It's coming. Here it goes. But I'm tired of talking about Big Ten football. Let's get out of here. Let's head over to the West Coast where it's sunshine and rainbows, not particularly in this state because the sun never comes out in Washington State. So you're screwed if you go to Washington State. No, the Apple Cup here. This game is going to be bonkers, okay? And the reason is because Washington State was fantastic, and they hit a cliff and just went dunk. It was just like, I don't know what happened. Washington is arguably the best team in the Pac-12. They are the best team in the Pac-12, according to me. 15.5 points at home. Too bad this ain't at Washington State. Of course, last year was interesting. I think that Washington State can put up a fight for the first half. I'll give them the first half. I'll say they could tie it up for half. Second half is all Washington's, I think. Tough place to play, too, by the way. Watching those games, oh, my God, it's loud in there. Maybe because it's just reverberating off of the mountains around them or whatever the heck it is out there. I really don't know. Never been to Washington State, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, crazy environment. Their fans are crazy. It's like those people sound like they just live out in the middle of nowhere and they all just climb out of a rock like it's Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and they're all just coming out of their little hole in the ground to go to a college football game because I'm like, oh, what is this? Where do these people come from? Washington, I think, wins this game, takes the cake. Do they cover? Yes, they do. 15.5. I think they win by 3 tooties. Three touchdowns. I think it's not going to be pretty. I don't anticipate it to be very pretty. Washington gets to 42 points in this one. I'm going to go 42-21. I think that they win it. Second half, they're going to win it.
I'm thinking more of the same. I won't spend too much time on this one now. Washington State is sitting at 5-6, so with one more win, they can go bowling. But with a loss, so they'll probably out. So I'm
the
sure
alley is closed.
Washington would like to do nothing more than to kick the little brother back home to the couch, and while they're sitting in the Pac-12 championship, Washington State can do if Washington State wins this one, then Washington's pretty much out of the playoff race. Pac-12 might be out of the playoff race. If Washington State beats them, then Washington turns around and it's like. But I'm definitely rooting for the Pac-12 to get in. This is their last hoorah, for the college football playoff before they. A couple of teams go to the ACC, a couple of teams go to the Big Ten, a couple of teams.
ACC, they're freaking 20 miles from the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, Cal and Stanford have to fly all the way to Tallahassee to play Florida State next year. So that'll definitely be interesting.
You might as well go. You might as well go the other direction on your flight.
Yeah, you might as well fly to Japan and then take the airport before you go there. But Yeah, Washington State, they were the talk of the town. Like we had them featured on the show here, and after that, we haven't really talked about them too much. Last week, they blew the doors off of Colorado, and that's a team that Colorado, they got their 3 or 4 week hype, and then after that, you're like, okay, you're back to the Colorado that we thought that y'all were going to be this season. But Washington, Michael Penix, their offense has been cruising in this one. Their defense definitely has to get better before next week's test against Oregon. I mean, take the points next week game. I mean, that's probably gonna be like a 52-50 the way that those offenses have been rolling out. But I think that Washington State's offense will be able to hang around, like you mentioned, for a half, and then Washington of their environment. It's definitely one of the tough environments to play in college football. With the overhangs, it just gets much louder in that stadium. So I'll go Washington. I think that they cover this one and ease their way to the Pac-12 championship. They could be looking ahead. I don't think so. This is the Apple Cup. So give me Washington to win this one 48-28.
Yeah, I mean, last 5 games for Washington have been one-score games at the end of them. So we're talking it could be close. I mean, that's what we're looking at. So I mean, there's a lot of points here to be saying 15.5. But I think it's personal at that level when it comes to a game like this. Don't quote Deion Sanders because that's a joke. Yeah, I mean, Washington State putting up 56 on Colorado is pretty bad. I mean, that's a good defense holding them to 14 points. I mean, so they're juiced after their win. I mean, they lost 4 in a row before that, but I think they're ready to go, and we'll see what happens. It could be detrimental to Washington, and all the talk could go out the window after today's game. So that's a little 3 p.m. kickoff, at least for us. So we'll see what happens there. Let's head over to the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, the end-all, be-all of college football, it seems. The old Texas A&M Aggies, they have the prettiest mascot in all of college football, but not the prettiest coaching staff nor team in college football. It is an absolute dumpster fire, in my opinion, and it's just asking for lighter fluid at this point. On the other hand, LSU, they're surviving because they have a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. Don't know how much we'll see of them in this game. Who knows? I'm concerned. I'll say that. I'm concerned about it. I don't know. Just there. A lot of question marks about that. I don't think that. I think Brian Kelly should have told Jaden Daniels, if he wants to run, don't get hit. Like, it just, dude, learn how to slide. Like take him out over to the ball fields, hand him off to some of the guys over there, and say, okay, we're going to teach you how to slide. Because he doesn't slide, and it's going to end his career, one of these days. In all seriousness, I honestly think that there's been a lot of guys that have had career-ending injuries because they didn't learn to slide or didn't slide one time, and it ended their career. So I don't want to see that happen to him. 13 points here for LSU at home. They could probably do it. It might be 13. It could be a push. I mean, like, that's where we're at. A&M. You never know what you're going to get. I mean, honestly, that's where we're at. I don't even know what to say about them. LSU can score the football. It's their only saving grace. Running the ball has proven to work out for them late in the season. I mean, the run game wasn't there to start the year, but now it's showed up and it's working. So I expect them to run the ball a fair amount in this one against A&M. So give me LSU to win it. I'm going 38-24. They're going to win it at home. They're going to cover it by 1 point.
All right, slight cover. But yeah, this is like you mentioned with Jane Daniels. This is his last chance to really prove it to the Heisman voters because Bo Nix, he has another chance against Washington. It'd definitely be hard. I mean, if Bo Nix goes out there and really puts up like 4 or 5 pass touchdowns in the win against Oregon, it's definitely going to be tough. So if you're an LSU fan, you probably want Washington to just take care of business and kick Bo Nix out of the college football playoff. But Jane Daniels coming off of an 8-touchdown performance. I definitely agree with you last week that he played all the way into the fourth quarter when they were up 56-14.
Why?
But, you got to pad them stats, I guess. You got to play catch up or maybe, take the lead. But yeah, I think that if Jane Daniels doesn't really lay an egg, he's going to be right up there with in the Heisman front runner or be number 2 right behind Bo Nix. But really outside of that, I mean, this is Texas A&M. They're down now to their third string quarterback now. Max Johnson is out of this game. Their starting quarterback Connor Weigman is out for the season, so it's down to the third string. So we'll see how they fare out. Last week it was against Abilene Christian. You can't really say too much. 2 weeks ago it was against Mississippi State, and the offense was able to put up 51 points on them. So with LSU, you're going to get into a shootout. So, I mean, it's been pretty much every game except for the Auburn game, but we know Auburn stinks. They just lost to New Mexico State. But I think LSU wins this one, but I think that Texas A&M does cover this one. If you remember, Texas A&M absolutely embarrassed LSU last year. So LSU's going with the All-Whites. Last time they went with the All-Whites, Tennessee came to their own building and kicked the piss out of them. So we'll see if story writes itself, but I think that this LSU offense, I know that Texas A&M, this is probably one of the better defenses that LSU has faced all season outside of Alabama and Florida State. But I think, 11 a.m. game, could that be sleepy? I think that's probably why Texas A&M probably covers this one. It's a rivalry game. I don't really consider this a rivalry game. This is about one of the forced rivalries in all of college football, but I think LSU wins this one. I'll say 38-34. I mean, if you look at LSU's games, both are going to get in the 30s.
I think this week is the Alabama LSU week, and it should be, or the week before. I think it should be because Iron Bowl, of course, is this week or whatever. Really doesn't mean a whole lot anymore, so I think they should just revamp it. Put LSU Alabama to end the season. I think it'd be a great way to end the season for both teams. But you brought up New Mexico State, and we talked about the Aggies. So we talked about both. So we're going to talk about the New Mexico State Aggies, and they're going to be playing against the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, great, fantastic, wonderful team. I feel bad for them that they can't do anything. Kind of like JMU. It's a load of garbage. I agree with Pat McAfee. Burn them all. Burn everything. Don't burn anybody. Just burn everything. Just shred it. Just get over it. Just let them play at this point. You let them get into the Division I. You let them get into the conferences. You let them do this, and then, oh, hey, by the way, 2 years of ban. Whatever. I mean, we're gonna do that for people, but people over there stealing signs and this and that, we ain't gonna do nothing. Like, come on, folks. Or we're going to take 8 years to do the investigation till after they win the national championship. Oh, hey, by the way, oh, God. Politics, people. I love it. No, I don't. Talking about this game, both 9-3. This is about the most even game outside in the group of 5 that we could possibly get. Jacksonville State is the 3-point favorite. Here's what I'll tell you. New Mexico State's going to spoil the party here, and they're going to win at home. They're going to do it. I just feel New Mexico State home field advantage. There is, when I tell you nothing in New Mexico, there is nothing. I can't even spell Albuquerque, but there's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing. It's so bad. Like, I don't know. It's going to be a game that we could see some tumbleweeds in the stands because it's just going to be bad. It's going to be a close game, but I just don't think it's going to be fun. New Mexico State wins it. A lot of points, probably. I mean, we might see a lot of points. Give me the points for New Mexico State the other direction. Let's go 41-38. Kind of a wacky score, but I feel like we live in a wacky world, so it's a wacky place, so why not?
If it wasn't for this 2-year transition rule, the winner of this game would be punching their ticket. Without it, New Mexico State's already in the dance against Liberty next week. So, yeah, definitely feel for Jacksonville State and James Madison. That's definitely a stupid rule. That's like a 1920s rule. This ain't the 1920s anymore. It doesn't take 2-3 years. I mean, James Madison was schooling them. I'm surprised North Dakota State hasn't really made the transition. I feel like they just keep on winning and winning and winning. They're just not getting tired of it.
because they don't want to gum up because they keep
Yeah,
winning it.
but the Fargo Dome would definitely be a very hostile environment to play in if it goes on to the FBS. It is in the FCS. But I'm going to go with go Diego go. Diego Pavia, he had an absolute dog in them game against Auburn. I mean, 31-10, you go into Jordan Hare like you're not scared. Well, you ain't going to be scared of Jacksonville State. Could there be a letdown? Sure, but I think that New Mexico State, they really had an effective game plan against Auburn. Jacksonville State, you really look at the teams that they faced. South Carolina, they gave them a game. They lost by 10. The battle of the Gamecocks there. So I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game. Probably both teams get into the 30s, but the wrong team's favorite here. I think that New Mexico State, the Aggies. I remember, when New Mexico State lost in week number 1 to UMass of all teams. Look at UMass now; they're like 3-9, one of the worst teams. But I remember playing in NCAA 14. New Mexico State was one of the worst programs. Look at them now, 9-3. They win this one, they'll be 10-3, and Jerry Kill and the boys will be going to the Conference USA Championship. Who would have thought that in 2014? Not me. But give me New Mexico State to win this one as a field goal game, 34-31.
Yeah, can't root against Go Diego Go. I mean, God, I mean, it's just one of those where, I mean, shoot, you root against Go Diego Go and Las Cruces, New Mexico. Who knows what's gonna happen? No, those are our games of the week. We love finishing it on a high note. Of course, let's get to our CFB best bets of the weekend. We're gonna have some fun ones here, I think, with the games that are on the slate for today, and it's gonna be quite interesting. So, Tyler, what you got for best bets?
I'm going to keep riding with the team that I've been riding with in Wool Spreads. I've been winning virtual money on that app. But I'm going to go with Arizona. I mean, they're a 12-point favorite against Arizona State. I just watched Oregon put up 69 points on this same team. I think that Arizona, the way that their offense has been rolling, give me Arizona minus 12. You could probably bump that sucker up to minus 20, minus 30. This is going to be an absolute whooping in the Battle of Arizona. I think that Arizona gets their 9th win on the season.
Hold on to your seats, get strapped in, and get ready to hit that ejection button. Because I think Georgia Tech's gonna cover.
Oh my God.
The spread when it comes to the 24 points against Georgia. They're playing at Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech's going to keep it close, if you ask me. I mean, Georgia Tech is not a slouch. I mean, they're 6-5. They're going to a bowl. And I think they can keep it close. I honestly think that they have a chance to keep it with a ball game with Georgia. So 24, I think that Georgia Tech, I think they can cover it, honestly.
And I'll go to the SEC, the Iron Bowl. This will not be a game. Alabama will cover this one, minus 13. Don't give me that crap of, it's the Iron Bowl. Crazy things have happened. I'm not picking the team that just lost by 21 to the same team that we just talked about to go Diego go. But I think, golly, that just cracks me up every time I say it. But I'm going to go with Alabama, Jalen Milroe. I mean, if you really watch this team has really woken up ever since. The Arkansas game was close to the Florida game, the loss to Texas. This has just been an absolute team. This has been an Alabama team that we've really been accustomed to. I think that this defense, Auburn's not going to score much. Auburn might probably not even score a point in this one. If you're a team to likely shut out a team, it's Alabama. I think Alabama wins this one like a 42-10 type of ball game. So give me Alabama to cover the easily 13-point spread.
I'm going to go down to the Go Diego Go territory, which is Gainesville, Florida, State in Florida. Give me the Gators. The Gators are going to cover the 6.5 on Florida State. I just don't think we know what's going to happen with Florida State, to be honest with you. It's a gamble. It's a dice roll, but hey, you're gambling. That's why it's best bets. I think if you're even crazier to just take Florida outright to win it, could you imagine in the swamp and absolutely stun Florida State? That would be crazy. But no, I think Florida State, I don't think they're going to get a huge win here. I think 6.5 I think that Florida can keep it a 3-point game, 4-point, 5-point game. I honestly think that's how it can go. Tough environment, one of the toughest in college football. So I think that's a fantastic, wild bet to take. I think it's going to boost you up if you decide to do a big parlay. That's a big chance to get some money right there if it does happen, of course.
I'll give you a bonus one. I'll give you, since you gave you a spicy one, give me a spicy one. Give me the Cox. Clemson is -7.5. No way. Then the Palmetto Bowl, 5-6 South Carolina. They need one more victory to get to bowl eligibility. That defense absolutely shut down Ray Davis in Kentucky last week. Clemson, they've just been a roller coaster of rides. Same thing with South Carolina. But have you looked at the time when this game is? It is a night game in Williams-Brice Stadium. Sandstorm. Cocky's going to be coming out of his curtain in the pregame. Give me South Carolina in the defensive battle here. If you want to even go crazy, give me South Carolina money line. This is a team that's playing for a bowl game. Shane Beamer. They're looking for back-to-back dubs against Dabo. And so I think that for safety, go with South Carolina to cover the +7.5. But if you're looking to really spice it up this holiday weekend, go with the Gamecocks outright.
I mean, Shane Beamer, I honestly think he just needs to come in parachuting out of a cargo bob in this one, in my opinion, because Cocky's going to be helicoptering all the way through the end zone here in this one. So I think there's so much that could happen in that game. Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be wild. We got to get up there. We keep saying it. We got to get up there for a game because it's good. It's a fantastic.
They had Darude last week live, the creator of Sandstorm.
Good gosh.
Should have saved him.
Yeah, they might be back. Who knows?
Bring him back.
Bring him back. You set him up with the hotel for the week. I know you can afford it, guys. But yeah, no, it's gonna be fantastic game there. 6:30 game there. A lot of good night games.
Yeah,
today. So
very good night sleep.
I'm happy. I'm not friggin' sleeping. So it's gonna be fantastic.
We sleep on Sundays.
Yeah, we sleep on Sundays. That's a great time to sleep. Great job, guys. Because NFL football sucks this year.
Watch your fantasy team let you down.
Yeah, well, Tyler and I are. Oh, side note, Tyler and I are playing again.
Yeah.
This weekend, and Tyler has over 100 points already, and I have like 10. So fantastic for me. Only because Tyler had the freaking Thanksgiving feast of fantasy football players on Thursday show up. So I honestly don't know what I'm gonna do or what's gonna happen, and I think the algorithm for fantasy football has absolutely lost its mind for our game because it has no idea what to think. Somehow I projected the win. I don't know how, and it's like who knows what's gonna happen. So Tyler's trying to make it into the playoffs, like trying to just solidify the fact that he's not going to be in the consolation bracket, and I'm just trying to clinch the division this week.
The 1 seed, actually.
I'm trying to clinch the 1 seed.
Yeah.
If I clinch, I win the 1 seed here. So with a week left, so yeah, a lot can happen. So closing out playoff picks, college football playoff picks. Oh, God, running through the scenarios. How many scenarios that can happen in this thing? We both think that Washington has to play good to win, so there's a lot of things that can happen. Georgia's a lock, unless Georgia, oh my God, could you imagine?
If Georgia loses it, oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. That'll be the craziest letdown in college football history. No, I honestly think it's right now, top 4. Here we go. I've got.
We could do like one by one. Do like our 1, and then our 2, and then 3, and 4. How we do it?
So let's start 4. Let's work our way up.
Oh God, this is gonna make it even more challenging. But all right, I like it.
I like that way. For me, 4. No matter how you cut it, 4 has to be a team from the ACC, and I think it's probably Florida State. It's probably your 4th dog in the race for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with Florida State. I have probably them either the 2 or the 3. I think that the resume is going to get better with a win against Louisville. As long as Louisville does take care of business today against Kentucky, I think that Kentucky, really look at them, they start off hot, but it's a rivalry game. It's going to be close. But I think there's a lot of scenarios. The Pac-12 championship, the winner of that game, as long as Washington wins today, Washington or Oregon, the winner of that, they should get in. But I'm going to go to the Big 12 champion. I think that Texas really handles their business against Oklahoma State. I think that Texas, I mean, they absolutely destroyed Texas Tech. I think the way that Quinn Ewers, he's back. He's playing healthy. He wasn't healthy last week. I think that every week, next week he's going to start to get healthy. And if they make it to the playoff, then you're going to get a fully healthy Quinn Ewers. But I think you really look at their resume. They do have that loss against Oklahoma. Oklahoma just continues to win. They won 69-45 against TCU. I mean, my gosh, take the points there. But I think that Texas, they're going to be looking really solid. They have a good resume. They can build that with another top 25 win against probably Oklahoma State. I'm going to say Oklahoma State. I don't see Oklahoma State losing to BYU today. So I think that Texas, they get in as a 4.
Yeah. Shoot, for me, 3. For me, like the top 4 teams have to be all undefeated, in my opinion. So that's why I put Florida State at 4. At 3, I'm going to put Washington. I think Washington's the better team in the Pac-12, and I think they're the better overall team. When they face off against Oregon, I think Oregon has problems with them. That's Dan Lanning's like freaking kryptonite. Is Michael Penix's left hand freaking chicken wing throws 35 yards, 40 yards down the field. So, Washington, the Huskies are my 3rd team.
Actually, I screwed up. I forgot that Washington. There's like so many teams. You can kick Texas out for me. I agree with you. I have Florida State 4. I have Washington 3. I think that Texas, I think they are going to win the Big 12. But the way it really sets up, there's only going to be one team that falls ahead of them. It's going to be the loser of the Ohio State-Michigan game. I'm just saying that there's too many non-conference and undefeated to really keep Texas out. But I really think that Texas could be in there. But yeah, number 3 for me is going to be Washington. I think that they could even have a legitimate, really chance of making it to the number 2 seed as well. I think that if you really look at Michigan and Washington, I think that Washington would have a better resume. I mean, yeah, I think that, Michigan, if they win against Ohio State, they would have a top 2 win, and they have probably going to be a top 10 team. I think that Penn State's probably going to move to 10 by next Tuesday's show. But I think that Washington, they take care of business. I picked this team to win the national championship in the preseason and make the college football playoff. I'm not going to cop out now. I'm going to ride with the Huskies to get to number 3.
Yeah, for me at 2, it's Michigan. I think Michigan wins today, and I think they solidify the fact that they're going to be the number 1 team in the Big 10. Congratulations. I hope it gets stripped from you later on, but for me, I think they're the best team in the Big 10 right now, the way things are, and I think they're a better team, especially playing at home against Ohio State. That is the advantage big time there. So they're my number 2 team.
Yeah, the number 2 team is pretty much going to be whoever wins this game today against Michigan, Ohio State. Like I mentioned earlier, I think it is going to be Michigan. I think that there is a difference of last year. So many people are just going to the conclusion that the loser of this game is going to get in. There wasn't many, non-conference one-loss teams. Like we already talked about it, Texas is going to be right in the mix. It's pretty much going to be I swear to gosh, if this happens again where Ohio State gets in and Texas doesn't get left out and then they won their conference championship, this playoff committee can go to hell because they have not respected conference champions the whole entire existence since 2014. So I hope that doesn't happen. But I think that Michigan gets into the number 2 just because that they beat Ohio State. I think that the playoff committee really going to put that win ahead of Washington's resume, what they built.
Yeah, and finally, number 1, Georgia. I think both of us can say it at the same time. Georgia. It's Georgia. I think that they win, obviously, this weekend against Georgia Tech, and I think that they steamroll Alabama in the SEC championship, in my opinion. So that's just how I feel. Alabama has not played tough opponents late in the season so far, so I just don't see it happening where they can win this game. Of course, they're still playing at friggin' home, for the SEC championship pretty much. So, you ain't gonna beat Georgia in the state of Georgia, so you can give up on that one. Georgia for me is the all-encompass number 1 team again, and you're gonna have to go beat them in the playoff. I mean, that's where it's gonna count, where it's gonna matter for me.
Yep.
So, Yeah, I think we pretty much don't have any scenarios to run through this week
Yeah,
because
we can't
we
really run it through until next week, honestly.
right. I mean, the fact that it's too early to talk about that, oh my god. No, after the regular season is over, I think we can talk a little bit more about where we're at with the playoff. I think after Tuesday with the committee, we'll see how that shapes up and everything. I don't expect too much to happen. I would be shocked if Washington and Florida State flip spots currently between 4 and 5, and Washington would be outside looking in that
Yeah, the
retrospect. So
one thing I'll be watching is how far does the loser of Ohio State and Michigan fall? Because I think that's really going to tell us: do we get either two Big Ten teams in and they screw either one of the Texases of the world, or if Alabama wins? I think that's going to be the looker of this upcoming show.
Here, I'll give it to you right now. Georgia's going to remain at 1. Michigan would go to 2.
Yeah,
The winner of this game would go to 2. So I think Michigan's going to win. Washington wins and moves to 3. Florida State wins and moves to 4. Ohio State, with their one loss, they move to 5. Oregon stays at 6 still because of Michigan's ranking being higher than Washington's ranking. So they're going to place them right before them. Texas stays. Actually, Alabama jumps Texas.
what?
Alabama will
You
go to
can't do
7.
that.
Well, I mean, you could do it. I mean, just
The
you're
head-to-head
banking it
though.
on a head-to-head. Yeah, but you're banking it on the head-to-head. I mean, who knows? I mean, well, okay, we'll keep it
I
there right now.
I will
So
live and
Texas
die
and
by the
Florida.
head-to-head and
Yeah.
respecting the conference champions.
Well, okay, so we'll leave Texas there where they are. Alabama where they are. I think Louisville's going to drop. So Missouri stays there at 9 and Penn State would go to 10. I would be shocked to see Penn State go to 9 and Missouri be 10. But you never know what can happen right there. But yeah, that's what I think the top 10 is going to look like after this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, we'll clip that and see if you're right.
We will see what happens. But folks, we will see you guys on the lovely next weekend show because we'll be talking about conference championships. It'll be right there in front of us. We're ready for it as we get ready, geared up, strapped in for the college football playoff and bowl season. Bowl season is first. We will be bowling for a long time on this show. You can book that lane for 2.5 hours, folks, because it's going to charge you a pretty penny to stay and listen to us butcher names of bowls and enjoy it and have a nice crack open a cold one here with us and get ready for the bowl season. We are ready for it. We hope you are. We will see you guys again next week for conference championship week.